Okay, I want to take you back in time. Picture this, a narrow strip of land on the American coast. The whole country is just holding its breath, about to tear itself apart. And in the middle of all this, a single woman is handed the keys to a tower that literally holds the fate of every ship in the channel.
So, where are we? It's 1857. And this place you're looking at is Old Point Comfort. Think of it as the Gibraltar of the Chesapeake Bay, a critical strategic choke point. I mean, this spot was everything. It was about to become a Union stronghold right in the middle of a seceding Virginia. And that light you see, it wasn't just a suggestion. It had to stay on, no matter what.
And the person responsible for it, her name was Amelia Dewees. Now, you gotta remember, in an era when women just weren't given this kind of authority, she wasn't just a keeper. She was a commissioned federal officer. She was responsible for one of the most important posts on the entire coast, and she was in charge of the most advanced high-tech navigational gear of the day.
All right, so to really get what we can learn from her, we have to push past that romantic image of a lonely lighthouse keeper, right? We need to see the real, raw, visceral truth of her job. And let me tell you, it was a relentless, absolutely grinding cycle. I mean, look at this routine. For 4 solid years, this was her life. Think about it. Hauling 5-gallon oil cans up 54 feet of spiral stairs every single morning. Meticulously wiping the salt film off every single delicate prism. And the sleep? Forget it. She'd have to wake up every 3 or 4 hours to trim wicks, refill the lamp. And if there was a multi-day fog, which happened all the time in the Chesapeake, sleep it wasn't an option. This wasn't just hard work. It was a total siege on her mind and body. An existence built on precision, endurance, and knowing that if you messed up, people could die.
And this right here, this was the piece of tech she was in charge of. It's a Henry Lapote Fresnel lens, a total masterpiece of French engineering. But here's the thing about it. A single smudge from carelessness, one tiny speck of soot, could scatter that powerful beam of light and send a ship crashing straight into the rocks. So her attention to detail? Yeah, it wasn't just about following the rules. It was literally a matter of life and death.
So why do it? I mean, think about it. Her work was completely invisible. No ship captain ever wrote her name in their log. Nobody ever sent a thank you note. Her motivation, her purpose, it had to come from somewhere deep inside. It came from this profound belief that doing a thankless job with absolute integrity, well, that was its own reward.
Okay, so what does this incredible story of personal grit from the 19th century have to do with the United States Air Force today? Well, it turns out her life and the very ground where she served has become this really unique kind of classroom. And it's not just for teaching strategy, it's for something much deeper, the formation of character. And this all connects to a really powerful military training method called a staff ride. Now, this idea goes way back, like 200 years, to thinkers like Karl von Clausewitz. And the core idea is simple, but it's really profound. You can't learn true judgment just from a textbook. You have to forge it. And you do that by studying the real choices people made under incredible pressure, on the actual ground where it all went down. It's all about preparing leaders for the inevitable messiness and friction of conflict.
But what's happening here isn't your typical staff ride, the kind that just focuses on tactics. A group of Catholic women at Langley Air Force Base, working with the Catholic Military Apostolate, innovated on this tradition. They developed something totally new, a spiritual fitness staff ride. And it goes beyond asking how a decision was made and asks the much, much deeper question of why it was made. And maybe even more important, who did you have to be to make that choice? It basically turns Amelia's story into a living, breathing ethics laboratory.
So what's the crucial point here? It's that her daily struggle, right there on that historic ground, actually reveals 3 timeless ethical rules for anyone in a high-stakes leadership role. The program even has a name for them, the 3 rules for the darkness. Okay, rule number 1 is all about the virtue of the invisible task. Look, readiness and trust, they aren't built when the crisis hits. They're forged in the mundane, sometimes boring, disciplined work you do when nobody's watching. Nobody's checking up on you. And this idea speaks so directly to the invisible labor that so many people carry, especially military women, juggling everything at work, at home, and all their roles at once. The second rule is just as powerful, guarding the clarity of the signal. Think about it. Amelia's biggest enemy wasn't a storm. It was that thin, white film of salt that would slowly build up and cloud her lens. And that is such a perfect metaphor for our own internal stuff, right? Our biases, our exhaustion, our resentments, They don't show up overnight. They build up slowly, scattering our judgment before we even know what's happening. And just like Amelia had to constantly, relentlessly wipe that lens clean to project a clear, strong beam, a leader can't give a clear signal to their people if their own internal vision is all clouded up. It's simple. You can't give what you don't have. And you certainly can't reflect a light that you've allowed to become obscured.
And that brings us to the third and final rule, and this one is a serious warning. Keep the flame alive. Remember that fog bell? It didn't run on its own. It had to be manually rewound every few hours. This teaches us that duty by itself is not a sustainable fuel. The source material on this is incredibly blunt. It says, good women have run themselves to nothing on duty alone and called it virtue. It is not virtue. It is slow extinction. Wow. You have to consciously, deliberately feed your own sense of purpose. You have to find the oil for your own internal flame.
All right, let's bring this all together, because this leads us to the ultimate takeaway here. Why this kind of deep character work isn't just a nice history lesson. It is an absolute strategic necessity, especially when you look at modern warfare.
We're in a whole new world now, an age of AI, of autonomous weapons, where decision timelines are crushed down to seconds. Technology is moving faster than our conscience can keep up, and in that environment, a warfighter who hesitates, not because they're afraid, but because they're morally confused, they become a catastrophic vulnerability for everyone. There is literally no time to have an ethical debate with yourself in the middle of a crisis.
And that is the standard this program is trying to build. They call it the human anchor. What is that? It's a leader who has already done the work, who has enough developed character to hold their command authorities steady when technology is screaming past what their conscience can follow. It's a person with the moral clarity to make the right call, under fire, probably a great personal cost, and with absolutely no guarantee that anyone will ever even know they did it.
And that leaves us with the final, haunting question that this whole experience poses. It's a challenge that echoes directly from Amelia Dewees' lonely watchtower in the 19th century straight into the chaos of our own lives. It forces every one of us to ask a really fundamental question. What are you willing to keep? What are you willing to hold fast to when everything goes dark?